Welcome to the Monday edition, Bob.
Well, thank you, Dave, and I'm very happy to be here, and I've had my Dr. Strauss.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been taking my Strauss heart drops myself, and as many others are. Okay, I tell you what, let's just jump right into this with both feet. The futures are down. Everybody's looking at more negative numbers from the NASDAQ, the Dow, and, of course, the S&P. The S&P is now way below that magic number, 750 points. Where are we going with this, Bob, and what does it all mean?
Well, as I said 2 weeks ago, I expected the former low of 1994 and 2002, 2003, of 7,286 on the Dow to be broken. And that it was. And I said I think that it will go, before it has a rally, to 6,000 to 6,600. And this morning, we are trading down pre-opening about 100 points, which would put us down around 65, 50, or 60. And we'll go down there and wherever it's going to be. And then I think we'll get a summer rally, which will, a bear market rally. And then in the fall, I believe that we're going lower. Where? Anywhere between 6,000 and 3,800.
Whoa.
And it's hard to say at this point. I noticed that fear is starting to pervade the markets. Mm-hmm. I see people who normally are rah-rah are kind of pulling back and saying, gee, what's going on? Mm-hmm. We, of course, have been telling people since 14,000 to get out of the market, and we've been very successful in doing so. Mm-hmm. What is going on, too, with the lower market, it affects your IRAs and your 401ks and other kinds of pensions. And I think if we get down around 4,000 on the Dow, there's going to be pension payout adjustments. And I think by that time, we'll probably be in no longer a hyperinflationary mode, but probably a deflationary mode as a prominent mode. And that probably will take about another 2 years. I want to allude to what you were talking about with Glenn Beck. I think he's a change agent. I think that what they're trying to get people to do, the complex out there he calls the bubbas, he wants them to get out in the street and start raising heck so they can put martial law in effect.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what that's all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they want to instigate folks so somebody will go out there and do something stupid and basically allow them to justify the military action that they would take, which might or might not be appropriate.
That's right. And so, please don't get sucked in by these people. Every group has them. We saw the same kind of things going on with virtually the same kind of leadership that we have today in Washington in Germany in 1933. And, yes, one was fascist and the other is Marxist. We have a Marxist president, for those who didn't know. And, but they're very similar. Just modes of operation. And I think this is what we're facing. And you've got a lot of decent people throughout the world who are saying to themselves, look at this terrible leadership we've got. What are we going to do about it? And they're going to have to work their way through it. But don't go out and do anything that Glenn Beck would have you do and be a bubba. Let's try to work through the system. The system is going to deteriorate further and further, so you're going to have more help as you go along. Because unemployment is going to be, at the end of next year, probably somewhere in the vicinity of about 10 million. Mm-hmm. And that would put unemployment on the U6 at somewhere in the vicinity of 35%. And that's not going to be the end of it.
Some folks are saying it's going to be a whole lot worse than that. I mean, if we're losing 500,000 jobs a month at this point, what was the last number? I think we had 697,000 jobs lost in the month of February. I mean, that's almost 700,000.
1.3 million so far this year, Dave.
That's what I'm saying. That's what, 6.5 million? I mean, those numbers are just so crazy.
Well, and then they're lying, too. They're actually, the figures are worth because they use a thing called the birth-death ratio, which I won't go into here, but they Mickey Mouse the figures. Mm-hmm. They do the same thing with the CPI and the PPI, which is inflation, both at the producer level as well as the consumer level. They come out last week and said the U6. Now, I got to explain what the U6 is to your people out there. It's a short-term unemployment that they called 8.1%, plus discouraged workers, people who are no longer collecting their state unemployment benefits because they've run out. They said that figure of unemployment is 14.8%. That's official. Mm-hmm. The real figure on U6 is 17.8, and it'll be 22% or more before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow.
And so, we've been telling you on the program, get your seeds, get the things that you need that you depend upon every day, dehydrated and freeze-dried foods, a water filter, things to defend yourself. Don't wait, because if you wait, you're not going to get them.
That's right. That's right. And this is the whole thrust about this program and what we've been doing for how many years have we been screaming about this? Bob, you've been joining us off and on for what, 3, 4, 5 years? I can't even keep track of it.
It's been a long time, and all we're doing is a public service here. We don't get paid to do this, and we want people to understand that if you're out of work, you want to be able to eat, and if you've got food, you can eat. Each family should put in what they can, whether it's 3 months or 6 months or 2.5 years. Do what you can do. Start planting gardens. My daughter has a great big garden. She lives in the southern part of the country, so she can have 2 or 3 crops a year.
Wow, that's great.
But you should be doing this, like the old Victory Gardens when I was a kid during the Second Great War.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hate to say, not to go back to this issue about economics, but I hate to be more pessimistic. You sounded to me when you were just saying how gently these numbers are going to continue to go down. You're saying that maybe by the fall we'll see it down to this level. I think that when this happens, it's going to happen a whole lot quicker than that, Bob. When the crash happened in 29, that was almost overnight. When hyperinflation kicks in, that's almost overnight. That happens over a matter of a couple of weeks. I've seen some of these bills, these $500 billion notes coming from Zimbabwe.
Well,
I can't help but think it's going to be a lot quicker.
Right. The timing is extraordinarily difficult, but remember, in 1930, the Fed withdrew money from circulation. They did the opposite of what they're doing today. And that's what really caused the main part of the Depression was the Fed's inaction and withdrawal. This time they and the Treasury are flooding the world with money. And they know that won't work either. They're trying to find a place where they can plug in the next war so that people will be running hither and yon like they did in 1942 off to some conflict in Asia or Europe or maybe this time in the Middle East. And they won't worry about having a job, getting an insurance for their car or their home, or whether they got a home or whether they got a car. They'll be more worried whether they're going to get killed in Iran or something. Yeah. And so this is the next thing that's going to be plugged in by these people. And this conjuring on the main media is made to prepare you for further violence.
Well, they certainly are setting the table for that, and we're hearing that all the time. You've already mentioned what Glenn Beck is doing. Maybe he's a change agent or whatever. But I wanted to jump into, before we go to the commercial break, about some of the issues that you're bringing up in your latest newsletter. And by the way, folks, if you haven't subscribed to Bob Chapman's newsletter, I don't know what you're waiting for. Usually it's around 30 pages. This is not some, short little, goofy little newsletter. He's got a ton of stuff out there. And, of course, the phone number to dial if you'd like to order is what, Bob?
It is right at my fingertips here. And I'm glad you asked because Joyce usually has it. It is 877-479-8178. That's toll free, 877-479-8178. Or you can